Hello, everybody, and welcome to chapter number 8, Perfect Competition. And the next few chapters are going to be devoted about talking about our different types of market structures and ties in the analysis that we laid out in chapter number 7, where we talk about the firm's profit maximizing conditions. Because of how a firm is going to maximize its profits does depend on the type of market structure we are analyzing. So in chapter number 8, we talk about perfect competition, where there's the least amount of market power or the most amount of competition. In chapter number 9, we'll talk about the monopoly, where there's the most amount of market power or the least amount of competition. And then chapter number 10, we'll talk about monopolistic competition and oligopoly, which is in between the perfect competition market structure and the monopoly market structure. And in each of these chapters, it's laid out pretty similarly because we talk about the assumptions about each of these market structures and how we sort of transition from the short run over to the long run, as well as a few of the idiosyncrasies of each of these market structures itself. So let's go ahead and see what we have in store for this particular chapter. We start off pretty generally just talking about the different types of market structures, and we describe their characteristics. So we talk about 4 different types of market structures. How do they differ? How are they very similar to one another? Then we focus a little bit more on the perfect competition market structure, the focus of this particular chapter, and see all the demand curves, the supply curves, and see exactly how they're going to be maximizing profits under this particular market structure. There's a 5-step pattern for maximizing profits. We're going to see it in this chapter, in our next chapter, and the chapter after that. And it's going to follow a very similar process through all these market structures. So it's going to be a very good idea to get this into your back of your mind and see exactly how the 5-step process comes into play for each of these structures. Once we figure out exactly what is happening with the firm in terms of the profit maximizing sort of conditions, we can see the situations that emerge. We can see whether or not if they're earning a loss, earning a profit, or zero economic profits. And these are all things that are going to happen in the short run, but what happens as we transition over to the long run? So there's going to be a short run to long run transition for all these market structures, and we're going to see exactly how that comes to fruition. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and ask about the welfare and efficiency components of every single type of market structure and see why perfect competition is going to be in the best interest for the public as a whole. With all of this in mind, we can start off just by generally talking about market structure analysis, which tells us that when we observe a few industry characteristics, we can know exactly pricing and output behavior of firms within each of these market structures. So we know exactly what the profit maximizing condition is going to be just by taking a look at a few of these factors right here. So market structure does depend on the number of firms. Are we working in an industry where there's an infinite amount of firms, where there's so many buyers, so many sellers, or are we working in an industry where there's only one big player or a few big players, and that's going to essentially change how the firms are going to be pricing their particular good. Market structure also depends on the nature of the product, so the good that's actually being brought out into the marketplace. Are we looking at a standardized or a homogeneous type of product where we as consumers don't really know what firm it comes from? Or are we taking a look at a differentiated product where firms can actually say, hey, yeah, this product belongs to me, and because of this product belongs to me, no one else can sell it, so therefore I'm going to raise my prices just a little bit. Do we have any barriers to entry within this particular industry? Can everybody just go into the market, enter into the market and sell their particular good? Or are there going to be barriers to entry or obstacles that prevent people or firms from entering into the industry, which essentially is going to tell us exactly what type of product they're going to be selling as well? And finally here, do we have some control over the price? Is the good going to be essentially a very differentiated product where firms are going to have a lot of control over the price, or where they have a lot of market power? Or is the good essentially going to be very standardized where the firms have no control over the price and they have to take the prices as given on the marketplace? And all of these characteristics and features that we see right here are going to define all of the market structures that we need to hone in on in this chapter and in our later chapters. So just as a big overview, the primary market structures that we need to hone in on: perfect competition, that's going to be the focus in this chapter. Monopolistic competition and oligopoly, that's in chapter number 10. And monopoly is chapter number 9, our next chapter. So we go from the most amount of competition and perfect competition, the least amount of competition with the monopoly, and somewhere in between these two with monopolistic competition and oligopoly right after that. We'll see exactly what the characteristics and features of each of these market structures are going to be, as well as give you a few examples in our next video. I'll see you guys there.